right, welcome to The Mandatory, another live show for you on this Thursday. Well, I guess morning if you're on the West Coast, and afternoon if you're on the East Coast, like Bryan is. And of course, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button as well. It helps the channel grow. But most importantly, Bryan, we've got some pretty big news that came out just recently. And this one, I believe, is not good for boxing because Alycia Baumgardner, undisputed champion, tested positive before her July fight. And this brings a lot of questions. A lot of people are mad about it. Some people have different opinions, but what are your thoughts on everything?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't know we were going to start here. I thought we were going to start softer. Listen, I'll go on for a minute, but I think people need to be clear on like what is kind of actually going on, because I think a lot of people are just making fun of her, and then a lot of people are just jumping to her defense when we don't actually know anything. Like, do you know like what's actually going on here? Because I don't. You know, it doesn't make a ton of sense. So the two drugs that were to be found in Alycia Baumgardner's system. I don't know. Should I be still saying allegedly, even though reports came out and she basically confirmed it? What's journalistically responsible here, you think, Shantelle?
You let me know. You go with whatever you think is proper. You're the one. This is what you're talking about. So it comes from you.
Okay, so totally leaving me out here on a ledge is fine. Just kidding. Anabolic steroid, mesterolone, right? This is one of the ones that was in her system, according to the report and according to a statement that she released. And this is, on my research, mainly used to treat low levels of testosterone. Found out that this has been in the systems of some runners, some weightlifters, a softball athlete in Canada got banned 3 years for doing this. Julio Reyes, Spanish long distance runner, got 2 years for this in 1999, was actually quite successful after. And this was interesting. Alycia Baumgardner is going to fight to clear her name because she says that this is something that she didn't know was in her system, like played that card, which we've heard before. In one case, historically, it was actually true. Diana Yastremska, people who don't know, tennis player, who was 29th in the world, almost top 20 at one point a couple years ago. She had this same drug that Alycia Baumgardner tested positive for in her system. The test was taken November 2020. They found out in January, so kind of similar timeline where it was a month or two after. They found out the test was positive in her system, and she was provisionally suspended as they did the research. Fought to clear her name, missed Australian Open. It took a 6-month process, but then they basically let her off the hook and said that there was no negligence on her part. The suspension was lifted. She was cleared and was playing again right away. Now, she hasn't been as good since, but she was playing again right away. And I think if you're Alycia Baumgardner, that's sort of the scenario you'd be looking at here. In terms of that being overturned and you clearing your name, that's one way to be doing it. The other drug in question, methanolone, which has another name, a trade name called primobolan. I hope I'm pronouncing these things right. Also anabolic steroid. This one, when I looked it up and did some research, it was linked to Alex Rodriguez in 2009. And also Barry Bonds, allegedly, during his alleged steroid peak in 2000, 2001. I think we still have to use allegedly. I'm not sure what the rules are with Barry Bonds. But this drug was also allegedly in Alycia Baumgardner's system. And Hiru Turkoglu also took this, apparently, and was suspended 20 games in 2013. So, with all that being said, this is where we are with Alycia Baumgardner. Lou DiBella, who promotes Christina Linardatu, who Alycia Baumgardner beat in July, came out and was like, hey, this is a real drug, said in the ESPN piece that he was quoted in. And he basically said, you can imagine how Linardatu's feeling right now. If this is what's being reported, this is serious stuff. This is a real PED. The only question I would ask for you, Shantelle, is just basically, what do you think boxing from an in-ring standpoint, the super featherweight division, the potential fight with Amanda Serrano, if Alycia Baumgardner gets suspended for a year or two, what could things look like, I guess, in the division now? going forward if she has to step away for a while because of this?
I don't even think that's the question that we should be focusing on. I think the question should be what will happen to her career? How will her career be tainted? What does this mean for boxing? I think that's the bigger question. It's
Sure.
not about
Answer that
hey,
one.
right? It's not. I don't think it's really about well, definitely that fight with Amanda Serrano is not going to happen. I think if Alycia Baumgardner doesn't get proven innocent, if her, like she said, she didn't know the substance was obviously in her system, but everyone says that, right? That's usually what happens. So, and you know what? Maybe she didn't. Like, we don't know. Like, maybe she truly didn't know that it was in her system. But I think this does taint her career. She's the undisputed champion. So this is not a good look for boxing, period. I believe Lou DiBella also said that he would like standardized testing
Yes.
for big fights. And I do
He's been
agree with
saying
Lou.
that.
I do agree with Lou because I also think if you come out with this type of substance before a big fight, you shouldn't fight in it. They got to call the fight because I don't think that's fair. What about you? You can answer your own question. What do you think is going to happen in the division then?
Well, yeah, to get on that, it's not fair to her opponent either, who had to fight Christina Linardatu, right? I'll note a couple other things from the press release after what I'm about to say, which is basically, I agree with all of that. She's gonna take a big hit if it comes out that she wasn't negligent in the process from the
Dude,
standpoint of
Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame.
right,
He's not in the Hall of Fame. If
right.
Alycia Baumgardner, if this turns out to be true and Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame and there's been no like clear evidence for Barry, what are we saying about Alycia Baumgardner? Because
Right.
I believe Barry should be in the Hall of Fame.
Right. But I also think that drugs are seen as worse in baseball than they are in boxing. And even though I don't think that it should be an either or. I think this should both be bad. But look, she's screwed if she doesn't come out evading the suspension like the tennis player I mentioned before did. Well, a longer term suspension than just a provisional one. Right now, there hasn't been a suspension or anything. Matchroom is doing their investigation, whatever the case may be. I think one of the things that her career would take a hit. I think one of the things that could happen is, or not could happen, because I don't know if this is actually going to happen. One of the things you could do in her absence, if she's gone and you have to strip her of all the titles, because that's another thing that will happen here is if she's gone for a year, 2 years, whatever the ban is, if there's a ban, if she doesn't clear her name, then yeah, you'd be looking at new champions across the super featherweight division, new opportunities for a bunch of women in and around that weight class. There was supposed to be a World Boxing Super Series that never happened of super featherweights. And maybe that's something that you can reboot in Alycia Baumgardner's absence. I don't know, but there's no doubt she's going to take a hit. Other boxers have survived this, and you could argue that some probably shouldn't have. But
Let hold that thought right there.
yeah,
I think because it's Alycia Baumgardner and because she's a woman, I think she's gonna get it harder than a man would.
a black
Um,
woman too.
yeah, I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
that. She's gonna get it way harder. People are gonna be like strip her of her titles. They're gonna
Mhm.
taint her
They're
name.
doing that now. They're doing that
Exactly.
already.
But
They're doing that on a
but here's the thing. It's like when we talk about strip titles, and I go back to baseball, like the Houston Astros cheated. They should have been stripped of the World Series against the Dodgers. Yeah, they stripped. They cheated, yo.
No. That's a little
They
different.
should have been stripped. I'm also a
No.
Dodgers fan, so I'm like, take the World Series
That's a
away
little
from them. You know what I mean? But
That's a little different because everybody in baseball was doing it. They just got caught. It's one of
I
those
don't
things.
know. I
It's the
still don't
same
believe in
thing.
that.
It's the same thing with SMU football in the 1980s,
I
where they
know.
were just more
I
egregious
just
with
think
it. They got the death penalty, but everyone in the Southwest Conference before it disbanded was doing that too in the 1980s.
but still, I still think it's extremely unfair. I don't think that's a real championship, but that's my opinion. I do want to say though, going back to Alycia Baumgardner, and by the way, we are going to get to your comments. Actually, let's get to some of them right now. Shout out to everyone that is on the chat, on the live stream. We do want to get your thoughts on this situation before we move on. And of course, we're still going to talk about it a little bit more. Nerd says, and Nerd, one of a friend of the show, I believe anything she says. So Nerd is a fan.
Why's that, nerd? Huh? I'm not saying I don't, but a lot
Our
of people.
guy Hustle Man, strip and suspend until proven innocent. I'm not mad at that. But I mean, at the same time,
I think it's too early. But Chantelle, would you strip her right away?
no, because if she's innocent, then why are we stripping her?
I think you have to. This just happened. I think you have to let more of a process play out. But I,
Isn't it innocent until proven guilty?
yeah, but Hustle Man disagrees. Is his point?
Yeah.
Which there are some things you could be guilty until proven innocent, like perhaps Wander Franco. Google it yourself. Like where people would look at it about in that way. I don't think you strip her right away, but yeah, I think you have to perform the investigation. Like there has to be some sort of due process here. But if she is guilty, you have to strip all the titles. If she's not, then okay, you might. And if it goes long enough, because the investigation with the tennis player whose name is escaping me that I referenced before. Sorry, I'm a casual tennis fan, right? And she was provisionally suspended for 6 months. If the Alycia Baumgardner thing is going to take, let's say, half a year through the rest of the year at the beginning of next year, I think you have to have a sort of champion in recess situation. You have an interim champion for a couple different titles. Like if it's going to linger on that long, we don't know that yet because it can actually come to something much sooner if there's going to be, a quicker process here, but we'll see.
Yeah, I
I
just
can't
think.
even see the comments, so I'm glad you pulled them up because the chat's not working for me. So you're gonna have to.
Oh, okay. Well, Jesus says steroids wasn't illegal in Major League Baseball. And Jesus, by the way, friend of the show, Jesus, thanks for hopping on. I think you mean Alicia's being set up, not step up. But
Probably.
if I'm wrong, let me know, Jesus. But nonetheless, I go back to the fact that Alycia Baumgardner is the undisputed champion. Not a good look for boxing when you're undisputed champion, one of the faces of women's boxing, one of the up and coming superstars in boxing, period, is Alycia Baumgardner. Let's be serious here. And she tests positive for a substance. And it was before the July fight, right? So you think about everything that went into that. And how is that fair for someone like Christina Linadartu? What is she thinking? How is she feeling? But I do believe that if throughout this whole entire process, even if she's innocent, Alycia Baumgardner is going to get it from the media. She's going to get it from fans because she is a woman, a Black woman at that. And they're going to be harder on her than anyone else. And I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to make this a race thing. This is facts.
Yeah.
This is what it's going to be. And if she ends up, we find out that she isn't innocent, it's going to be even worse for her. And so that's the part, like, that's the unfortunate part. But things are stacked against her at this time. I'm hoping that she is innocent and she didn't know, because there's been a case of that, as you mentioned. But I mean, we're going to have to wait and see and have the investigation and all of that. But nonetheless, I think it's a bad look for boxing, especially for when you think about the fact that women's boxing is on the up and up, and it's on the biggest platform, the biggest stage in the world that it's ever been. For this to happen to one of their superstars, extremely bad look.
She's one of the 5 most popular women in the sport. I would say she's probably
top 2, top 3. Clarissa Shields, Amanda Serrano, and Alycia Baumgardner. I'd probably say top 3.
In terms of just straight popularity, you could argue that. And I would also say that in terms of just fighters in the sport in general, men and women, she's definitely one of the most Googled. And she's probably, in terms of popularity, one of the 20 most. So yeah. And look, hopefully they get the process right, is what I would say. It would suck to see her have to get suspended for a long time for this, but look, if she did it, then you can't be tolerating this shit in this sport. Like this just happened with Dillian White, and we'll see what happens with him. Conor Benn is still trying to fight to clear his name and maintain his innocence, but even though that looks a little shaky, so
apparently it was eggs though. He had ate some eggs and
yeah, like an excess of eggs or whatever. Ultimately, like we have to know what we're putting in our bodies, but it's not. I don't think we ever like truly know. But if you're a boxer, you're an athlete, you really have to be on top of that shit. So
this is a good one. Cool Ken, a friend of the show. I'll let you read this one since your chat is not working.
Yeah, Cool Ken, thank you for the comment as always, and please feel free to keep them coming, everybody, and donations especially, because if you donate, we'll drop what we're doing, get to your comment right away, and also trying to get a little bit of money doing this. So, Cool Ken, thank you for the comment. If she is innocent, there will always be an asterisk by her name. Yeah, and I think that that's going to be one of the things that people hold against her, especially as a black woman. They're going to single her out in a different way than if it's somebody else. On a slightly different note, I did go to Michaela Mayer's Instagram to see if she posted anything in half celebration and just like a haha type of thing. Haven't seen anything yet, so that actually was one of the bigger upsets here because I expected direct smoke from Michaela Mayer right away, and we did not get that. So I guess kudos to her for that.
I mean, in hindsight, though, she didn't test positive for anything before the fight with Michaela Mayer, and she still won. So
No,
it's just like,
but you could also you could if you're somebody else, you could, oh, how long has she been doing this, huh? Like what, you could go
I
down
don't
that
know.
rabbit hole if you
I
want
I
to.
saw a lot of jokes. I saw a lot of jokes about it, but I think at the end of the day, it's like we got to wait and see what's real and what's not. It is a real drug, though.
Yeah. Like it's
So
not like a bullshit steroid, right? Like
yeah.
I remember when Alexander Povetkin tested dirty when he was gonna fight Deontay Wilder. And this when people say Deontay Wilder hadn't fought nobody, this is before the Tyson Fury stuff. I would always defend him because of this particular fight. Alexander Povetkin was seen as a guy that could give him real work and beat him because Deontay Wilder, quote unquote, had to beat anyone. Deontay Wilder was going to defend his title in Russia, flew to Russia to
Mhm.
defend his title, and then posted a video of himself crying about 48 to 72 hours before the fight started in Russia because Alexander Povetkin tested positive for a drug that was meant to increase his stamina, which in a heavyweight division kind of matters a lot. And Povetkin was suspended and eventually came back because people always come back in the sport. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Alycia Baumgardner regarding that, and she's gonna fight to clear her name. Let me actually read. Let me read that before we get out of here. Two substances. This is from Alycia Baumgardner's
Yeah.
statement because she said that she's going to be updating the people as this is going. So I guess shout out to her for doing that. We'll see if she's actually innocent, but two substances I've never heard of or used in any way, she said in a statement. To be abundantly clear, I know that I never have, never would, and never will take this or any other drug. Not only would doing so be unethical, but it would also be completely contrary to how I've trained my entire career. Both statements, which usually come with denials, we've heard them from everyone, some of whom have had their names cleared, some of whom haven't, and ultimately we'll see how the process plays out.
Yeah, if you have any more comments on the Alycia Baumgardner situation, definitely let us know. Drop some comments below. And remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Peace.